Good evening, everyone. Let's get this celebration started. We are at our second annual State of the School Showcase, and it's all about featuring our students and our staff work. As we have been working on Portrait of a Graduate Outcomes, we want to showcase all the wonderful things that are happening in our classrooms and beyond the walls of our classrooms. This year's theme is West Clermont Strong, and we chose that because it really just speaks to the kind of community we live in, the kind of school district that we are, and even more importantly, it speaks to the commitment that we've made to the community through the pandemic. We said we don't want to come out of the pandemic and try to get back to normal or how we used to be. We want to come out of the pandemic stronger and a better school district, and that's been our commitment to you. So what I want to kick off with here is a celebration of some of the accolades, some of the third-party affirmations that we've been getting from the state and around the nation with the work that's been happening in West Clermont. So if you will, just hang with me here, and we will begin with a picture of the Portrait of a Graduate. This is important for us not to look at it as just something you see on our website or something that you see in a newsletter, but this really represents the vision that we have for our students. And we want you to see that come to life tonight and in all these recognitions. West Clermont received 4 stars this year from the state of Ohio. We were this close to 4.5 stars, and in fact, we moved up 64 places from our ranking last year. This just in, we just received 2 new state momentum awards. This is for Holly Hill Elementary and Summerside Elementary. This means they performed 3 points higher than they did the year before, and they kept a strong growth projection and number. They got at least 4 stars. They join the district as a whole, West Clermont Middle School and Willowville, with this designation. We are proud to say that we have District's 5 Ohio Teacher of the Year, Michelle Dorman. And for those elementary parents who are in the audience, you might not know Michelle. She is our Teacher Academy educator. She works with rising educators, people who want to go into the profession and come back and serve here at West Clermont someday. So she has a very important role in our school district. Just this last week, we were able to announce that our nurse administrator in the school district is Ohio's Nurse Administrator of the Year. She'll be celebrated in Columbus on March 15th. Our state middle school was recognized at their conference recently. They got a Teaming Component Award. Teaming is very important in middle school to create a large environment, to feel smaller, and to feel part of something bigger. West Clermont High School ranked in the top 20% of schools in the United States. This is a United States World and News Report review. This was announced in 2024. We are very proud, and we will add to it that they've been working aggressively to improve graduation rates here. We've moved in just the last year from 91% graduated to 94% graduating. We will not stop, we will not rest until that's 100%, that's what we're after, but we are certainly proud of this huge progress. We received 5 stars for gap closing. That means we are meeting the needs of students in subgroups that have specific needs, whether it's special education, English language learners, economically disadvantaged. This is unique situations in families and in schools that require extra interventions, and we are getting the highest score you can get on serving those students, 5 stars. Just recently, we also received PBIS awards, silver and bronze. Those are about positive behavior supports, and we have teams at every school that focus on creating the right environment for your children, and we are being recognized in the state for this. We got an International Finance Award for the audit of the Treasurer's Office, and so we are very proud of their fiscal responsibility and the reporting measures. We had a Martha Holding Jennings Middle School Teacher of the Year. This came with a prize that she's been able to invest right back into our schools. So she's invested in things like 3D printing and put it right back into the classroom to create really awesome experiences for our students. We were in the top 11% for the state of Ohio for value added. That word might not mean a lot to you, but it's all about student growth. It's about where they start and how far we grow them. Ohio expects that we grow everybody at least a year's worth of growth. This proves that we are growing people far beyond that in West Clermont, and we are very proud of this result. The Wolf Pups, we have pre-K here in our school system, and they have received the highest designation, the Wolf Pups Step Up to Quality Award for Ohio. We certainly are a district on the rise. We spend in the bottom 16% of the state, yet we perform in the top 40% of the state. And this is up just over the last couple years from spending in the bottom 3% and performing near the bottom of the state. And so let's give our students, our staff, our administrators a huge round of applause for the great work that they've done over the last couple years. So the Portrait of a Graduate, as I mentioned before, is really our North Star. It's how we want to equip every single student in our system so that when they graduate from West Clermont High School, they leave us with a competitive advantage. This is not work that starts at the high school door. This starts the minute we meet your children in pre-K. One of the things that we've been able to invest in this year is a leadership development program to add to the foundational core knowledge of the student's learning path. And so you might have heard of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen Covey. Now, every single student in West Clermont is getting exposure to that high-level leadership development so that they will graduate here and not just walk away with a diploma, but with a strong, employable skill set. And how are we going to ensure that every single student has these skills and these mindsets and these abilities? Well, with the help of our Citizens Advisory Commission, we've developed a strategic plan that takes us all the way to 2030 that is about blazing new trails. You can see through the imagery here that we want every student to have that backpack to be equipped with what they need to take into life in their learning and beyond the walls of the school. And it can't be the same for every student. It has to be very personalized. It has to be our students creating their own path. And what was very important for our Citizens Advisory Commission is that we don't narrow that for students, that we really prepare them for anything, not just something, so that they have lots of exposure, lots of experiences inside of our school walls so that they can understand the world better and make really smart choices about how they want to impact the world when they grow up. So in order to prepare pathways for every student and to blaze new trails, we have to do that as a school system too. So we can't settle on our laurels. We can't settle on the success that we've had the past couple years. We have to continue to grow. And so the metaphor here of West Clermont School District as a Jeep with the 4 tires is really designed to illustrate the conditions that we have to set, the momentum we have to continue to build around these 4 important areas. Our modern learning, we have to continue to take our learning to the next level, modernize that curriculum, ensure we have the right technology tools, and that we are staying ahead of a very rapidly changing world and workforce industry. We want to have modern learning environments, a modern educator workforce that is prepared to take on the challenges of today's students and all that they bring to the classroom. And finally, we want to align and make sure we have strong modern family and community partnerships. We certainly can't do this alone, and we are so grateful that you're here tonight just as a symbol of your participation with us and your support with us so we can continue to be a district on the rise. But as many of you know, and especially those of you who have children in Merwin Elementary, Holly Hill, and West Clermont Middle School, we have a tire that needs some attention. We have some real challenges that we are facing as a school system. These challenges first are challenges that are more philosophical, I guess, is right now when we stand on a stage and proudly talk about what's happening in our school system, we know that the environments at certain schools that we have are not the same as everywhere else. Everyone doesn't have what we see here tonight at this grand, amazing high school. The home address of a West Clermont student determines the kind of learning environment that they have. And that's something that we're not proud of. It's something that we think is very important to level that playing field so that everyone's experiences and learning environments are equivalent. We also stand here with a challenge, and if you haven't been to the middle school yet, you might not be able to fully recognize this, but we are the largest middle school in the state of Ohio. And this middle school was built in 1961, designed for high school students. And so it poses many challenges. The campus itself, the fact that it starts at 7 a.m. in the morning, poses many challenges for managing and leading one of the most vulnerable populations in the PK-12 system, and that is the middle years. How many of you want to go back to middle school? I love middle school. They're my favorite kiddos for sure. It's where I've spent most of my career. But they take something very unique educators, specialized talents, to really get in there and connect with them and help them see possibilities in their life that they just can't see when they look in the mirror today. So these are some of our school district challenges that we're trying to hit head on. We also have current realities of aging buildings. We are overcrowded now. Those of you at Merwin know we have modular units there. We are packed in at every single school. It's hard even to find a place to have a meeting sometimes, and maybe some of you parents have been in situations where you're having to play the shell game just to try to figure out, where am I going to park, where are we going to fit in here, because we're tight. And the projections for West Clermont is that we are going to grow 1,300 students by 2030. So this isn't something where you can just kind of sit back and wonder and say what if. As leaders of the school system and as the Board of Education, we have to look to the future and plan ahead. And so that's exactly what we've been doing, is trying to figure out how do we solve these challenges so that we are able to keep money in the classroom, to keep investing in the things that I shared with you that we are having some huge success on, and not diverting our investments to keeping the lights on, to keeping roofs on the top of the buildings, asphalt, etc. And so that's why we're bringing this to your attention. If you haven't heard, you might, tonight when you walked in, you maybe got this flyer, and if you didn't, make sure you pick it up before you leave tonight. It's called Building Our Future. It outlines the proposed plan on how we want to solve the challenges that we're seeing as a district. And what it entails is a new 5-8 middle-level campus. Our goal here is to create, not to replicate West Clermont High School and just move it down the street. It is to create 2 smaller environments that are connected for efficiencies that will provide about 600 people per grade level and make that environment feel a little bit smaller, a little more conducive for what the middle level learner needs. And so we would start that journey at middle school at 5th grade and build that consistency and sustain all the way up until it's time for us to send our students off to the high school. We also have a proposed plan for a pre-K 4 elementary school. That space and where that would be located is not defined at this time. We do have property throughout the district that we are considering. That'll take a lot of analysis and assessing of like where the populations are falling, where we're growing, where it makes the most sense. So that's still in design. And then we have upgrades that are planned for Clough Pike. I'll start with them. Clough will get a new media center in this plan. They will also receive additional classrooms. What this will do, and why these additions are important, is that we will go from 7 elementaries to 6 elementaries, but with the additions that I'm going to tell you about, what will happen is we will move from having about 250 elementary students at Holly Hill to having 800 at Amelia, so that we can get all the schools a little more the same size. And so although there will be an exception in the bunch, most of our schools will house just over 600 students. There'll be more of the same in size and will help us to maximize our resources and be more efficient in how we operate the school district. So Clough will receive a new media center and those new classrooms. WT and Amelia, which were built in 2010, will receive some upgrades to their media centers, their library. They serve more as libraries. Now we want to advance those and bring them into modern times with turning them into media centers that are equipped not just for bolstering literacy skills, but to bring innovation and maker spaces and things that you might see in the Cincinnati Public Library or some of our libraries around Clermont into our schools as a hub of innovation and strong literacy building places. We also will add on classes at WT, some more classrooms there to create some more space. And again, that gets us more equalized so that every school is just about the same size with the exception of Amelia being a little bit larger. Across the entire system, we will provide security updates. Are we saying that we're not safe today? No, we're just saying safety and security is a top priority for us. It is an ongoing, evolving industry, and we want to have best of the best for our students. We also feel that same way about technology. It is a tool that is vital in today's world. We want to make sure that we put the latest and greatest in our students' hands so that they will be prepared as they move on to whatever college, whatever workforce, so that they have the skills and abilities in this very fast-paced, technologically advanced world. And finally, we'll have some targeted furniture updates. There won't be furniture changed out everywhere all over the district, but there's some key places that need some updates. We created this plan so that we could address the higher enrollment growth, the aging facilities, the overcrowding. We want to have a safer, more modern environment for all students, not just some of our students. And we want the same educational experiences, no matter what the student's address is. And you can see here that we have this advantage of working with the Ohio Facilities Commission. And that's why timing is really important. The Ohio Facilities Commission will provide 20% of the overall project costs. And so that's something we cannot pass up. And the timing is really important because once they offer you those funds, you have 18 months as a school system to show up with the local share. And so we don't want to lose that opportunity to have that investment from the state of Ohio, just as the OFCC has invested in West Clermont High School and WT and Amelia, Willowville, and Summerside. We know getting this project started right away will allow us to address our spacing issues because the bulk of that enrollment growth is really supposed to come over the next 3 years, because we all know you can't just decide you're going to build something and wiggle your nose and then it's there the next year. This is a long-term project. In fact, our current kindergartners will be the first fifth graders to go into this building on the middle school campus if it's all to come to be. So we want to do some prior planning. And as you know, if you drive around West Clermont and Clermont County, you're seeing huge changes, developments going up everywhere, businesses coming in. We want to be prepared for the growth of our community. And finally, it helps us avoid inflation-driven costs. The cost of this project, from every data point that we can see at this point, is the lowest it's going to be. So back to Portrait of a Graduate. I share it again for you to say it is our goal and our desire and our hopes and dreams that every student reaches Portrait of a Graduate outcomes. And we're trying to make it clear here that the learning model, the environments, the partnerships, and the workforce have to all come together to make this happen. But it's not just a brick and mortar answer. Learning environments are so much more than that. And what I want to showcase for you tonight, and you'll see this as you walk around and see the exhibits, is that we want to move that traditional classroom into the experience age, into a modern environment for students, where it's not sit and get and be lectured to, but it's about making things, creating things, being producers, and not just passively sitting and taking tests on Friday. And you're going to see that tonight. You're going to hear it in the stories that the students tell and what the teachers tell, that there are many of our classrooms that are making this shift, that are moving away from traditional models. And we all know what the traditional classroom felt like. We all know if it worked for us when we were in school, if it didn't. What we desire for to reach the students of today, we know we can't just keep doing what we've been doing. What I'd like to do is show you this quick little video to really illustrate the point of why designing environments specifically for the unique age and the developmental stage of the students is so vitally important. And as you watch the video, I want you to think about, what does this have to do with the personalized learning that we're going to be looking at tonight and that we're talking about? And where am I seeing this coming to life in West Clermont? And where do I want to see it a whole lot more?
Welcome to the TEDx Sonoma County stage, Todd Rose.
It's 1952, and the Air Force has a problem. They've got good pilots flying better planes, but they're getting worse results, and they don't know why. And for a while, they blame the pilots. They even blame the technology. And they eventually got around to blaming the flight instructors. But it turned out that the problem was actually with the cockpit. Let me explain. Imagine you're a fighter pilot. You're operating a machine that in some cases can travel faster than the speed of sound, and where issues between success and failure, sometimes life and death, can be measured in split seconds. If you're a fighter pilot, you know that your performance depends fundamentally on the fit between you and your cockpit. Because after all, what good is the best technology in the world if you can't reach the critical instruments when you need them the most? But this presents a challenge for the Air Force, because obviously pilots are not the same size. So the issue is, how do you design one cockpit that can fit the most individuals? For a long time, it was assumed that you could do this by designing for the average pilot. That almost seems intuitively right. If you design something that fit for the average size person, wouldn't it fit most people? It seems right, but it's actually wrong. And 60 years ago, an Air Force researcher, Gilbert Daniels, proved to the world just how wrong this really is and what it was costing us. Here's how he did it. He studied over 4,000 pilots, and he measured them on 10 dimensions of size. And he asked a very simple question. How many of these pilots are average on all 10 dimensions? The assumption was that most of them would be. Do you know how many really were? 0. Gilbert Daniels proved there was no such thing as an average pilot. Instead, what he found was that every single pilot had what we call a jagged size profile, right? Means no one's at the same on every dimension. And this makes sense. Just because you're the tallest person doesn't mean you're the heaviest. It doesn't mean you have the broadest shoulders or the longest torso. But this is tricky because if every pilot has a jagged size profile and you design a cockpit on average, you've literally designed it for nobody. So the Air Force realized they had a problem, and their response was bold. They banned the average, meaning that moving forward, they refused to buy fighter jets where the cockpit was designed for an average-sized pilot. And instead, they demanded that the companies who built these planes design them to the edges of dimensions of size, meaning that rather than design for, say, the average height, they wanted a cockpit that could accommodate as close to the shortest pilot and the tallest pilot as the technology would allow. And today, we have the most diverse pool of fighter pilots ever, but here's the thing. Many of our top pilots would have never fit in a cockpit designed on average. So, most of us have never sat in the cockpit of a $150 million fighter jet, right? But we've all sat in the classroom. Here's what I mean. Even though we have one of the most diverse countries in the history of the world, and even though it's the 21st century, we still design our learning environments like textbooks for the average student. No kidding. We call it age appropriate, and we think it's good enough. But of course it's not. I mean, think about it. What does it even mean to design for an average student? Because a student is not one-dimensional, like struggling to gifted. Students vary on many dimensions of learning, just like they vary on dimensions of size. Here are a few obvious ones. And just like size, each student, every single one of them, has a jagged learning profile. Meaning they have strengths, they're average at some things, and they have weaknesses. We all do. Even geniuses have weaknesses. But if the fighter pilot example has taught us anything, it's this. If you design those learning environments on average, odds are We've designed them for nobody. So the real question to me is, how do we get these adjustable seats for learning in the hands of every student as fast as possible without spending more money? Here, I actually think the Air Force has given us the formula for success. What if we ban the average in education? We know it destroys talent. Instead, what if we demanded that the companies that sell these materials into our classrooms design them not to the average of dimensions of learning, but to the edges? It would be a bold move. It would certainly send a strong signal to the market. The game's changed. But trust me, if we do this, not only will we increase the performance of the kids in our classrooms today, we will dramatically expand our talent pool. Because right now, there are so many students we simply cannot reach because we design on average. Design to the edges, and we will reach them, and we'll get their talent. And the good news is, we don't have to anymore. I'm telling you, we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance right now to fundamentally reimagine the very foundation of our institutions of opportunity like education in ways that nurture the potential of every single individual, and therefore expand our talent pool, make us far more competitive in the world. We can do this. We know the formula, and it's time we demand it. Thank you.
If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. And we have really been working with our Community Advisory Commission, our CAT team that helped design the layout for the new facilities program to really press our thinking and stretch our thinking so that we can design to the edges here in West Clermont. Because we're at a really critical time in the history of the world in knowing how fast the world is changing and wanting to do everything we can to make sure that every student here is very well prepared to go on and take on life's challenges. So as you see, we want to continue to get that traditional classroom model. There's a time and a place for it. You can see that over on the experience age, but we want to vary the learning environments for our students so that it's not one size fits all, that we're designing to the edges and giving kids what they need when they need it. And tonight, you're going to see evidence of that. You're going to see evidence of students directing their own learning. You're going to see students' curiosity abounding. You're going to see a different kind of relationship between the student and the teacher. And you're going to see partners involved in the work tonight. And so as you're walking around, I just want you to think about that video and about your school experience and what you want for your son or daughter or grandchild as you move forward. And as we wrap up here, I want to thank you. It's so exciting to be able to talk to you at 6 o'clock at night instead of 5:30 or 6 a.m. in the morning. So I appreciate you being here so much, and want to just call your attention to a couple things. Number one, we had a State of the Schools report where I was able to go into a lot of depth with my team last night, sharing with the board where we are as a school system on all these different tires that I talked about. And so you can tune in to the board meeting to learn more about that. We will have a Financing Our Future town hall. You know we love to do town halls and engage with our community. We have one of those coming up March 19th at Amelia Elementary, so we'd love for you to sign up and be part of that conversation. And finally, as part of our theme this year, WC Strong, we are inviting all of you to participate in telling your West Clermont story. How are you West Clermont Strong? How has your experiences made you a stronger, better learner, leader, etc.? So we would love for you to participate so that we can start getting these messages out on social media. I don't think we've had one participant yet, so I think there's a lot of nerves out there. And so who's going to be the brave, bold person to put their information out? That will be a special moment for us. So thank you all for being here. Have a good evening. Please follow the schedule that you came in with. If you didn't get it, you'll be able to get it at either end of the exits here as you leave the auditorium. Enjoy the performances. And I'm looking for Dr. Foltz. Is there another performance I should be introducing right now? Okay, so I can just dismiss everybody. So go to your corners. Everyone, go find your child, and the performances will begin. Thank you very much.